The prime objective of the counteroffensive will be probably to disrupt and destabilize Russia's supply lines. So that's why I think that Ukraine will make a major play for the Zaporizhia region, and in particular, the strategic city of Melitopol, which, alongside Crimea, is a vital resupply point for the Russian forces.
The US has said it was not behind the supposed drone attack on the Kremlin earlier this week. Vladimir Putin had claimed the incident had been masterminded by Washington. 2 days of Ukrainian drone attacks have been targeting Russian military logistics hubs in an apparent effort to disrupt Moscow's battlefield supply lines ahead of an expected counter-offensive. Dr Samuel Ramani is tutor of politics and international relations at the University of Oxford and also associate fellow at RUSI. He's author of Russia in Africa and Putin's war on Ukraine. Dr Ramani, Samuel, good morning to you.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Great to speak to you, and we are so grateful for your expertise coming from the Royal United Services Institute as well. Just tell us about this counter-offensive, because it feels like we've been talking about this for a long time. What are we waiting for? What is Ukraine waiting for?
So Ukraine has primarily been waiting for military equipment, first of all. So wanted to get the Leopard tanks, which they managed to secure, and also some additional air defenses. They got the Patriot system now, which would prevent Russian jets from entering and launching an offensive while they're carrying out the counteroffensive. So I think that almost everything is in place right now, and the Ukrainians are in preparatory stages, and they're by targeting fuel depots and logistics hubs in occupied territories and even in Russia proper to ease their path.
In terms of easing that path, where do things stand right now? What will the objective of a counteroffensive be?
Well, I think that the prime objective of the counteroffensive will be probably to disrupt and destabilize Russia's supply lines. So that's why I think that Ukraine will make a major play for the Zaporizhia region, and in particular, the strategic city of Melitopol, which, alongside Crimea, is a vital resupply point for the Russian forces. If the Ukrainians manage to capture Melitopol, they effectively fracture the Russian occupying forces in two. The Russians are in Luhansk, and the Russians are in Crimea, and they have no connectivity between the two. And also, it weakens Russia's foothold in the Sea of Azov. So I think that will probably be the most significant axis.
In terms of, I suppose, ranking significant moments in the war, Samuel, so far, where could this counter-offensive sit? Could this be a defining chapter?
Well, I think it could be very important, obviously, for the outcome of the war, especially if the Ukrainians do manage to succeed in Zaporizhia. They also manage to succeed in Kherson, where they're making an incursion on the other bank, and potentially start rolling back some of Russia's occupations in Donbass. They're already making some incursions in the Svatovo-Crimea part of Luhansk. So if they succeed on multiple fronts, then I think that Russia will be finding itself in a real bind, where it may have to try to sue for peace and try to freeze the conflict, or face a much more humiliating defeat.
In terms of what I was talking about there, the drone attack, Vladimir Putin claiming the incident had been masterminded by Washington, I should say supposed drone attack on the Kremlin, by the way. What is going on with Russia here? Is this sort of propaganda really problematic when it comes to Russia's credibility, I suppose? I mean, where was its credibility anyway?
Well, I think it's unsurprising that they would blame Washington for this, because even if it was a Ukrainian attack, and they do say it is a Ukrainian terrorist attack, the narrative coming out of Russia is that Ukraine is not really a sovereign country. It's just basically a puppet of the United States and, to a lesser extent, the British and the European Union. So this propaganda really fits into what they've been telling the Russian people pretty much ever since 2014.
Just as a final sort of thought then, Samuel, in terms of Western support, the counter-offensive, Russia's lack of progress, what can tip the balance here? We're talking about this counter-offensive, and we're talking about it potentially being pivotal. What would ensure that it is pivotal, and that it leads to some sort of defining moment that sends us on the way to peace and conclusion?
Well, I think that the first thing we need to do is we need to continue to supply the Ukrainians with the arms that they need. We need to ratchet up the ammunition production. We're seeing that coming from the European Union, and also give some of the outstanding equipment that's been pledged, like Abrams tanks. Obviously, the Ukrainians would want long-range missiles and F-16s as well, but that might be a little more illusory. But the most important thing right now are munitions, air defenses, and additional tanks.
Dr. Samuel Romani, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr Samuel Ramani is from the Royal United Services Institute. He's an author, Russia in Africa, and of Putin's war in Ukraine as well, and is a tutor at the University of Oxford in politics and international relations.